Shri Mahaganapataye Namaha. Om Shri Mahasaraswatyai Namaha. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Atha Shriman Narayaneeyam Dashaka 22 Ajamilopakyanam. The story of Ajamila. Ajamilo nama mahisurapura charan vibho dharma pathan grihashrami guror gira kananametya drishtavan sudrishta shilam kulatam madakulam. The above verse, having 12 syllables in each quarter, is composed in the Vamshastha meter. This Dashaka highlights the merits of uttering God Vishnu's name and cites the example of the life of a Brahmana Ajamila. In the ancient times, there was a Brahmana named Ajamila who was a religious householder. Once, listening to the words of his father, he went to the forest to bring sacrificial wood and other required material. There he chanced to meet an inebriated, immodest woman. Now, coming to the verse. Vibho Pura, O all-pervading Lord, in ancient times. Ajamilaha Nama Mahisuraha, a Brahmana named Ajamila. Grihashrami, a householder. Dharma Pathancharan, following his duties and leading a righteous life. Guroho Gira, by the words of his father. Kananam Etya Sudrishta Shilam Kulatam Drishtavan. Reaching the forest, he saw an immodest woman with an impudent behavior. Swata prashantopi tadahritaashayaha swadharma mutsrijya taya samaraman adharmakari dashami bhavan punar dadau bhavannamayute suteratim. Ajamila initially was calm and undisturbed in mind, but seeing the woman in the forest made him lose his balance, and he became very much attracted by her. The name Ajamila can be understood as Ajaya Avidyaya Milanam Yasya, one who has become united with avidya or ignorance, ignorance of what is right and what is wrong. Soon Ajamila, influenced by the woman, became unrighteous and led an immoral life. The Bhagavata Puranam says that Ajamila robbed wayfarers of their money, tricked and defeated people in the game of dice, cheated people of their money, and sustained his family by such unfair means. He troubled people very much by his misdemeanor. Time elapsed and he became very old. He had 10 sons, and the youngest son, having the name Narayana, was very dear to him. His heart was totally engrossed in this tiny child, and he enjoyed his every moment with this little child, profusely enjoying his sweet prattlings. Now coming to the verse, Swataha Prashantaha Api, though by nature he was very calm and peaceful. Tad Ahrita Ashayaha, his mind captivated by her. Swadharmam utsrujya, giving up his duties, Taya samaraman, enjoying with her, Dashami bhavan punaha, becoming very old and in the last decade of his life, Adharmakari, doing bad unrighteous deeds, Bhavannama yute sute, in the son bearing your name, that is the name Narayana, the God's name, Ratim Dadau, placed his affection on the child. Samrityukale yamaraja kinkaran bhayankaran stri nabilakshayan bhiya पुरामनाक्त्वत् स्मृतिवासनाबलात् जुहावनारायणनामकं सुतम्. Ajamila, at the time of his death, saw 3 fierce servants of Yama and became overpowered with fear. Yama's servants had noose in their hands and they were terrible to look at. Seeing the messengers of Yama, the god of death, Ajamila loudly called out Narayana, addressing his son, playing at a distance. Hearing this sound, the attendants of God Vishnu thought that Ajamila is calling out the god's name at the time of his demise, and so they rushed to him speedily. Now, coming to the verse, Saha Mrityu Kale, he at the time of death, Bhayankaran, awe-inspiring, Threen Yamaraja Kinkaran, 3 servants of Yama, Abhilakshayan Bhiya, seeing with fear, Pura Manak, in his earlier times, a little, Tvat Smriti Vasana Balat, by the strength of the tendency to remember your name in the past, Narayana Namakam Sutam, the son named Narayana, Juhava, called. Durashayasyapi tadatva nirgata tvadiya namakshara vaibhavat purobi petur bhavadiya parshadaha chaturbuja pitapata manoramaha. Though Ajamila was very unrighteous, the god's emissaries appeared before him only because of the glory of the letters of the god's name which emerged from his mouth at that time. Ajamila was not thinking about God, but was only calling out to his son having the same name as God. He only pronounced the letters which made up the Lord's name. Even this act brought God's attendants to rush to him immediately. The attendants had 4 arms, had yellow silken garments, and were very charming to look at. They rushed and placed themselves in between Ajamila and the Yama's people and thus alleviated his distress. Now coming to the verse, Puraha, before him, Tadatva nirgata tvadiya namakshara matra vaibhavat, solely due to the glory of the letters of the name of God that emerged from him at that time. Chaturbujaha pitapataha, having 4 arms and yellow silken garments. Manoharaha, captivating to the heart. Bhavadiya Parshadaha, your attendants, the attendants of Vishnu. Abhipetuhu, jumped in front of Ajamila. अमुं च सम्पाश्य विकर्षतो भटान् विमुञ्चतेत्यारुरुदुर्बलादमी निवारितास्ते च भवज्जनैस्तदा तदीयपापं निखिलं न्यवेदयन्. When the messengers of Yama were taking away the life of Ajamila from his body, the messengers of God Vishnu stopped them forcibly. They asked Yama's people to free Ajamila. The messengers of Yama then recounted all the sins committed by Ajamila. They said Ajamila had not atoned for his sins, and they are taking him to God Yama, who will punish him for his sins and thus purify him. Now coming to the verse, Amumcha Sampashya, tying him with rope. Vikarshataha Bhatan, the Yama's soldiers who were dragging him. Vimunchata iti, release him, so saying, Ami balat aruruduhu. They, the attendants of Vishnu, forcibly stopped them. Tada techa, then they, the Yama's people also, bhavajjanaihi nivaritaha, stopped by Vishnu's people, stopped by your people. Tadiya papam nikhilam nyavedayan, narrated all the sins committed by Ajamila. Bhavantu papani katam tu nishkrite krite pibho dandanamasti panditaha na nishkrite kim vidita bhavadrisham iti prabho tvat purusha babashire. The attendants of Vishnu told the messengers of Yama thus, let there be sins, but how can there be any punishment when atonement has been done already? Don't you people know what is atonement? It is very saddening to know that here a faultless person who does not deserve punishment is being punished. Now coming to the verse, Bo Panditaha, O you Pandits, O you learned people, Papani Bhavantu, let there be sins. Nishkrite krite api, when atonement has been done. Katam tu dandanam asti, how is there punishment? Bhavadrisham, for people like you. Nishkritihi, atonement. Na vidita kim, is it not known? Iti prabho, thus O Lord. Tvat purushaha babashire, your people spoke to Yama's people. Shruti smritibhyam vihita vratadayaha punanti papam nalunanti vasanam ananta sevatu nikrantati dvayim iti prabho tvat purusha babashire. Vishnu's attendants told the messengers of Yama that the vows of atonement enjoined in the Shruti and the Smriti texts purify the sins of a person but do not cut off the vasanas or the tendency to do sins. The Bhagavata Puranam in the 6th skanda, 2nd adhyaya, 11th verse says, Na nishkritair ruditair brahmavadibis tata vishuddhyatyagavan vratadibihi yata harer nama padairudahritais taduttama sloka gunopalambakam, which means many great sages have enjoined many vows for atonement of sins. But by following them, a sinner is not purified totally. On the other hand, he is completely sanctified by uttering the name of God Vishnu. Now coming to the verse, Shruti Smritibhyam Vihitaha Vratadayaha. The vows enjoined in the Shruti and Smriti texts, Papam Punanti, absolves one of the sins. Vasanam na lunanti, they do not cut off the vasanas or the tendencies to do sins. Ananta Sevatu, on the other hand, the worship of God Vishnu, who is Ananta, Dvayim, both, the sins and the vasanas also, Nikrintati, totally cuts off. Iti Prabho, thus, O Lord, Tvat Purushaha Babashire, your people spoke to Yama's people. Anena bhojanma sahasrakotibihi kriteshu papeshvapi nishkriti krita yadagrahinnama bhayakulo hare riti prabho tvat purusha babashire. Vishnu's attendants told the messengers of Yama that Ajamila had atoned for all the sins committed in innumerable lives because he uttered the name of the God which is auspicious and which gives salvation. When Ajamila uttered the 4 letters in the word Narayana, with that all his sins have been totally extinguished. Etenaiva Hyagonosya kritam syad aganishkritam yada narayanayeti jagada chaturaksharam. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 2nd Adhyaya, 8th verse. Now coming to the verse, Bo, O you Yamadutas, Bayakulaha, full of fear, Harehe Nama Agrahit, because he took the name of Hari. Iti yat, because of which, Anena, by him, Janma Sahasra Kotibihi, by 1,000 crores of lives or innumerable lives. Kriteshu Papeshu Api, the sins committed. Nishkritihi Krita, atonement has been done. Iti thus, Prabho, O Lord, Tvat Purushaha Babashire, your people spoke to Yama's people. Nrinam abudhyapi mukunda kirtanam dahatya gaugan mahimasya tadrishaha yatagnire dhansi yataushadam gadan iti prabho tvat purusha babashire. The attendants of Vishnu told the messengers of Yama that the glory of God's name is such that it burns down all the sins of people, even if it is uttered intentionally or otherwise. The Bhagavata Puranam in the 6th Skanda, 2nd Adhyaya, 18th verse says, Ajnanat atava jnanat uttama sloka namayat sankirtitam agam punsaha dahe tedo yathanalaha, which means knowingly or unknowingly, if the auspicious name of the God is uttered, it burns down the sins of the people like fire burns down the fuel. If a person drinks a powerful nectar without knowing its potency, even then it makes the drinker immortal. So also, The very utterance of the name of God, even unknowingly, definitely yields its results. Yatagadam viryatamam upayuktam edrichaya ajanatopyatmagunam kuryan mantropyudahritaha. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 2nd Adhyaya, 19th verse. Now, coming to the verse, Agnihi edhansi yata, just as Agni burns the fuel. Aushadam gadan yata, the medicines pacify the diseases. Abudya api, even without knowledge. Mukunda kirtanam, the chanting of Mukunda's or Vishnu's name. Nrinam agaugan, the collection of the sins of people. Dahati, burns. Asya mahima tadrishaha, its glory is such. Iti Prabho, thus, O all-pervading Lord, Tvat Purushaha Babashire, your people spoke to Yama's people. Itirityamya bhatairapasrite bhavadbhatanam cha gane tirohite bhavat smritim kanchana kalamacharan bhavat padam prapi bhavat bhatairasau. When the Vishnu Dutas saved Ajamila from the Yamadutas, they retreated and went to report the matter to God Yama. Ajamila bowed in reverence to the emissaries of Vishnu. The Bhagavata Puranam says that during this incident, Ajamila had the occasion to listen to the sayings of both the messengers of Vishnu and the messengers of Yama. Listening to the glory of the God, Bhakti dawned in the mind of Ajamila. He repented for all the sins he had committed. He developed detachment and sat in meditation. Ajamila ultimately reached Vaikunta, mounting the golden aerial car along with the attendants of God Vishnu. Coming to the verse, Iti iritaihi, thus told, Yamya bhataihi apasrite, when the Yamadutas had left. Bhavad bhatanam ganecha tirohite, and when the group of your emissaries also disappeared. Asau kanchana kalam, that Ajamila for some time, Bhavat smritim acharan, remembering and worshipping the God, Bhavat bhataihi, by your emissaries, by the emissaries of God Vishnu, Bhavat padam, your abode Vaikunta, prapi, he was reached. Swakinkara-vedana-shankito yamas-twadangri-bhakteshu nagamyatamiti swakiyabhritya-nashishicchaduchakaihi sadeva vatalayana pahi mam. When the emissaries of Vishnu saved Ajamila from the messengers of Yama, they went to Sanyamini Puri and reported the matter to Yamadeva, their chief. They said, as soon as Ajamila uttered the word Narayana, the people of Vishnu came and rescued him. Hearing this, Yama narrated the glory of God Vishnu to them in detail. And Yama said, Tat shamyatam sa bhagavan purusha purano narayana swapurushair yadasat kritam naha Swanam ahona vidusham rachitanjalinam chantir gariyasi nama purushaya bhumne. Bhagavata Puranam, 6th Skanda, 3rd Adhyaya, 30th verse, which means, let the Supreme Adi Purusha, Bhagavan Narayana, forgive me for the offense committed by me through my servants. We are ignorant, but we are His own people, and we seek His pardon with joined palms. Let the great glorious God, with His immense generosity, pardon us. My salutations to Him. Coming to the verse, Yamaha, the god Yama, Swakinkara Avedana Shankitaha, frightened to hear the report of his servants, Twadangri Bhakteshu na Gamyatamiti, do not go to the devotees of Vishnu. Thus, Swakiya Brityan, his servants, Uchakaihi Ashishichat, strongly instructed, Deva Vatalayanatha, O effulgent God, O Lord of Guruvayur, Saha Mam Pahi, you please protect me.